Thanks for joining us this morning for the webinar on Manage Your Collections in Discovery. I'm Caroline Catchpole. I'm a Digital Development Officer in Archive Sector Development at the National Archives, and I'm joined today by Joe Pugh, who's Digital Development Manager. So I'm just going to share my screen very briefly, just to sort of go through a bit of housekeeping quickly before I hand over to Joe. So if yeah, obviously we're recording, so please do turn your videos off if you don't want to be recorded, and if you could all just mute your mics to limit audio feedback. So we'll stop for voice questions at the end, and we're very welcome to hear from people if they want to ask voice questions, or at any time during both of our presentations. Please type questions into the chat feature, which you should find at the bottom of your screens, and we'll go through all the Q&As at the end of the session. So what we're going to be covering today, I'm going to hand over to Joe in a sec, and he's going to be doing an overview of Discovery and what collections information an archive service can have on Discovery. Then I'll be going through Manage Your Collections. I'll provide an overview of the system, a demo of the interface, and I'll show how to upload data to the system and how you can edit your collections data in Discovery. And then at the end, I'll just run through some top tips, which are our most common FAQs and where you can go for help. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to hand over to Joe.
Thanks, Caroline. So I'll also just hit share here. And I'm not going to speak for a terribly long time, but I just wanted to talk briefly about Discovery, because obviously, you know, we're going to spend most of this session talking about how you get data into this system. But at the end of the day, you know, this is about using a catalogue as a catalogue. So, you know, I want to talk about some of the features of Discovery, which is after all the catalogue that you're going to be using as it's the final destination for your data. So Discovery looks a bit like this. Lots of people here, I'm sure, will be familiar with it. And it comprises about 24 million records from the National Archives. So, you know, a lot of big familiar government departments here: the Admiralty, the Foreign Office, the Chancery, the Board of Trade, the War Office. You know, these big beasts. But there's also over 11 million records from archives across the UK. So whether it's large regional kind of county archives, Lancashire, East Sussex, Kent, Bedfordshire, that sort of thing, or other kinds of cultural institutions, so Historic England, the British Library, or smaller community archives. So we have very large numbers of collections represented in Discovery, and Manage Your Collections has got over 250 active archives using the service. So there's a real mix of data in there. So this is to understand then that Discovery isn't the National Archives catalogue. It's your catalogue and a lot of other people's catalogues, and it's a federated database. So it contains the Archon directory, the directory of UK and international repositories of British collections relating to British history and heritage, the National Register of Archives, which stores, I mean, well over a century of our institution collecting information about archival holdings in the UK, and that also includes the annual accessions exercise that we do, where we try and understand what collecting is happening in UK institutions. Obviously, there's the data in Manage Your Collections, and some of that was put together a long time ago as part of the A2A project. So archives, you might find when you first log in to Manage Your Collections that there's some data in there that perhaps was added 20 years ago as part of that project. The Manorial Documents Register, so we collect information about manorial manorial courts and the documents that they generated. That's an authoritative county by county survey that is coming to its exciting fruition next year as we complete the final counties, and then obviously the National Archives collections. And Discovery also has an API. So it has an interface that allows computers to interrogate the information directly, as well as people. So the purpose of Archon is to be a comprehensive directory of UK archival repositories, but the purpose of the pages is also to try and give a bit of an overview of collections based on what's in the National Register of Archives. So this is fairly obviously, this is a Cornish archive, but we're trying to give a sense there of the individuals that the system knows about that are represented in the collections, the businesses, the organisations. So these are some sense of some of the major holdings held at this institution. And within the National Register of Archives, so this is an entry for the artist Dante Gabriel Rossetti. Again, we're trying to, the purpose is to be a kind of Wikipedia, a sort of first stop for trying to understand where these collections are held. So as you'd expect for for an artist, there's a lot of data at the Tate, the V&A, but perhaps even a scholar of Rossetti wouldn't know that there's an interesting little collection at Wolverhampton City Archives. So we're trying to make it clear to researchers what the starting point for research might be. So the record creator search, when you run a search in Discovery, what you get back are two sets of results run in parallel. So there are two tabs here. One returning records and one returning record creators, and that's the bit that not everybody notices to click on, which is something that we're hopefully we'll redesign in the future. But the point is, you're always running two searches in parallel, and you can search creators at the same time as documents and filter accordingly. We sometimes get inquiries about which bits of Discovery can be edited and which bits can't, because obviously as you upload data into Manage Your Collections, you've got full control over that. You can amend it at any time, but we do hold information about your archive that it's not quite so straightforward for you to edit, and it's a matter of then of getting in touch with us. So the clue is when you're logged in, if you don't see an edit button, probably that means that was an entry created by us, and it's not straightforward for you to edit it. Our records in the National Register of Archives are at collection level, and they're usually, as I say, entity based. So they're if they're not about a collection, then they're about an organisation or a person, and they have links that look reasonably sensible. They have a perhaps an N number or something that looks a bit like a sort of registry number, whereas links in Manage Your Collections are long strings that are automatically generated. So there's quite a clear distinction between what those look like in the URL bar. Manage Your Collections records can show the whole tree. So obviously you're uploading catalogue data as a hierarchy, and that displays very nicely. Records that we've created in the National Register of Archives just have a creator. They don't have a whole tree attached. That's another way that you can tell the difference. So if you do come across information that we're holding about a collection that you think is very out of date or needs amending, or you see changes that we can make, please do get in touch with us. So we were talking about accessions. We're always very grateful to receive accessions information from repositories, and we publish that. A lot of that information goes directly into Discovery. It's live very quickly, but we also publish digests making clear what the major accessions in a given year were on a particular topic. And the Manorial Documents Register, which, as I say, is the final counties should be online reasonably soon, has all of that information is searchable in Discovery, but there's also a dedicated search interface for people who are specialists and want to kind of narrow this stuff down really quickly. Discovery is in ongoing and active development, and we're looking at both sides of that at the moment. So my colleagues in digital services are working on what they call Project Etna, which will have a public beta in March of next year, where we're looking at the look and feel of the site. And we're trying to produce something that's easier to use, move around in, and make sense of. But our colleagues in the cataloging team are running a project at the same time called Project Omega, where we really want to enrich the kind of data that we're holding about collections, because obviously the nature of our holdings is changing. We're all collecting more digital records, and we want to be able to say more intelligent and richer things about those digital records. So we're evolving the kinds of things that we're going to be able to say about records, and I hope that will have a very positive knock-on effect on Manage Your Collections in the future, as we enhance that system to follow some of the new things that we're going to be able to say about National Archives records, and make sure that everybody can make those claims. And more connectedness as well between different groups of records and between some of the systems that we have. So I hope in the new year to be be able to kind of show off some of these developments. So that's very, very quick fire. That's all that I want to say about that, really. Let's just find the right. Okay. Make sure I'm actually in the right browser. So I'm going to pass over to Caroline now. If people have got questions, I'm very happy to answer them in the chat. But I'm going to be here right the way through, so I can take other questions about discovery at the end as well. Thanks very much.
Great, thanks, Joe. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay. Oh, okay, perfect. So hopefully you should all be seeing that now. So Manage Your Collections. It's an application within Discovery that allows archives to add, edit, delete and restore information about their own collections in Discovery. So any archive with an ARCON code can use it to manage their collections data. And as Joe said, any archives that were part of the A2A project will already have collections in their NYC account. So it may be a pleasant surprise to see if you log on to your NYC account for the first time, there are collections already in there. And that's purely because A2A began almost 20 years ago now. So staff that were involved at archives with A2A projects, may have left, and yeah, I've had a few inquiries before with people being surprised that there are collections. So that's a possibility. And you can upload data to Manage Your Collections via spreadsheet. So we provide a template in the system, and you can also upload your own spreadsheets if you have a collections management system that you want to export from, and then upload that data to Discovery. So just a bit, as Joe said, over sort of 250 archives are using the system now, and archives use the system in a variety of ways. So we have some archives that use Discovery as their sole online catalogue. We have some archives that mirror information in their collections management system and then in Discovery. And we also have archives that use Discovery essentially as a signpost. So they have they have an online catalogue, but they export collection, like just a fonts level collection from their system, and upload it to Discovery, and they include a URL in that description which then signposts to their online catalogue. So you have a variety of ways that you can use NYC. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to navigate to an Excel spreadsheet, which is the Manage Your Collections template. And I quickly just want to run through this before I show you the system. So manage your collections is ISAG compliant. So you'll see in row 1 of the spreadsheet, you've got some column headers and they relate to ISAG fields. And then in column C, which is level of description, you'll see that that's where you have the ISAG hierarchy fields, which mirror the font, subfont, series, file, item. For each column header in row 1, we have a pop-up box that when you're on the column header, it pops up with basically what information we expect to see in that field. And if I scroll across, I don't need to go through every field with you, but you'll see there are quite a few. So we've got 24 fields in the spreadsheet for your use. Only 6 are required at the fonts level. So you don't need to note this down. I've got it noted down. It's on our website and it's on the slides that I can circulate to everyone. So don't worry about remembering these right now. But we require there to be a level of description, a title, the name of creator, the scope and content, the reference code, and then some form of date information. And so I just want to briefly talk about the dates, because you'll see that there are 3 date options. So we require either the start date and the end date or the covering dates. The start date and the end date have a requirement to be in a particular form. So they need to be, it needs to be digits only, and it needs to be either the year expressed as 4 digits, or you can have it as year, month, day expressed as 4 digits of the year, 2 digits of the month, and 2 digits of the day. Obviously, when we're talking about archival material, dates, exact dates can sometimes be a luxury. So that's why we have the covering dates field. And this is a free text field that allows you to express information about dates however you wish. So you'll see here, we have a date span 17th to the 21st centuries, or we have a circa date. The important thing to note about the date is ideally start date and end date is preferred, and that is only because these 2 fields are included in Discovery's advanced search function. So when a researcher uses advanced search and specifies a date range, if your collection doesn't use these 2 fields, then your collections would not be included in the search results, even if you had, you know, a date range that sort of matched the researcher's inquiry in the covering dates field. So it's just something to bear in mind if you want, you know, enhanced discoverability of your collections. The only other thing I just wanted to sort of point out on the spreadsheet before I go into the system is the level of description column. So this is, I mean, probably the most important sort of column field in the whole spreadsheet, because this is how the system builds out the hierarchy. So we require quite strict adherence to sort of the hierarchy in this column for collections to be processed properly. So we require it to be fonts. Obviously, we have a drop down for you to select. Collections that are uploaded with the word collection instead of fonts will receive an error message. So it's all, I know archives use the terms interchangeably, but for manage your collections, we do require the word fonts to be present. And always fonts in row 2, you can't upload with a subfonts. The system will not process it. And then The tree structure looks relatively flat in Excel. You'll see that as I scroll down, you have subfonds and then files relating to that subfonds listed below. Then for the next, there's quite a lot in there. So you'll see here the series and then the files relating to that series, and then another series. So you just sort of like need to list the hierarchy out in this level of description column, and then the system sort of builds it out into the tree on discovery. So I think that's everything that I need to say about the spreadsheet. So this is the Manage Your Collections interface. What I'm just going to quickly do, hopefully I should still be signed in. Your Discovery account and your Manage Your Collections account are one and the same thing. So to sign up to Manage Your Collections, you just need to register for a Discovery account, and then we activate your Manage Your Collections account. So the next time that you log into your Discovery account, you'll see here that I'm actually in my account in Discovery. Under the useful links, Manage Your Collections will be added as an option for you. So there is a unique URL to log into MYC, which we can provide. We do provide that on sign up, but you can always access your account from within your Discovery account if you, for whatever reason, misplace the URL for MYC. So if you click on Manage Collections, then you're taken to your landing page. You'll see that I don't have any collections in the account that I'm using today. If you did have collections, then this is where they will be listed, and you'll see as I go through and upload that collections are added to this space. Across the top, we have some menu options. I'd ignore the help in Manage Your Collections and refer to our web pages, as it has slightly more up-to-date information in there. We have our view history, which is used a lot in the system because it's where we process approval for uploads and where we download collections from. And then add a collection is where you can download the template. So you'll see here it says cataloging from scratch, and then the template is hyperlinked. So you click on that and the spreadsheet is downloaded for you. You can download that template as many times as you wish. And then when you're ready to, you can start here for the upload process. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to upload the collection that we were just looking at, which is in the Manage Your Collections template. So you're going to choose your file from your computer and you're just going to hit upload. And so you'll see here that a yellow banner has appeared and it says the file has been added to queue for upload. One thing to note, the larger your collection, the more time it will take to process. So don't worry if you'll see here that I've immediately got a preview and approve button. Sometimes it can be stopped on virus scanned for a long time because it's having to process many rows of data if you've got a large collection. So I'm going to preview and approve. So this is it just takes a sample of the collection. It gives you a sample record in the top half, which is step one. And that's purely to just see if you have put the right information against the right fields. I have put data against wrong fields. So this is a useful kind of reference point just to see if everything's looking as it should. And then we show 10 rows of data in the tree just to see that everything's looking as it should. And if you're happy, then you can approve. Obviously, if you reject it, it just cancels the upload. You can go back into the spreadsheet if you noticed anything amiss and then process it again by uploading. but I'm happy, so I'm going to click approve. And then again, if you don't immediately see that everything is ticked, you sometimes just need to refresh your page for it to process, and then you can view it immediately in Discovery. So although it's available immediately in Discovery, it won't appear in the search results in Discovery until the day after. So that's just something to bear in mind. And so this obviously looks like a standard Discovery page, but as Joe mentioned in his presentation, we can see buttons. So obviously, if you're not logged in, if you're logged in to your NYC account and you don't see buttons, then that's a collection that you can't manage. But I'm logged in and I can see buttons, so they are not available to just normal Discovery users. So I'll go through editing later on, but the manage your collections button is just the home page back to your account. So I'm just going to go back to find collection. So now you'll see that we have a collection in our account, and if you click on it, a new option comes up in the menu, collections details, and this is where you have additional functionality to manage things, which I'm going to go through after I've uploaded the other collections that I want to show you. So everything's looking good for that one. So next, I'm just going to quickly upload a collection that has an error in it to show you what happens. So the system will tell you if it has an error in it that where the collection hasn't met the minimum sort of data requirements that we need for collections. So when you view history this time, you'll see it's bright red and the data validation has failed. This error report is also emailed to you as a text file, but if you click on it, then it will tell you the exact error and it will tell you what line of the spreadsheet it occurs on for you to go and correct the information and then upload the file again. So in this instance, there's no date information at all in row 4. And so it's really useful that it has the line information, obviously, because some archives are uploading thousands of rows worth of data. So the row information is really vital here for you to know which rows to go and correct before you can upload successfully. So next, I'm going to show you the metadata mapper. So this would be used if you have a collections management system and you want to export some of that data and upload it to Discovery. We only accept files, Excel files and tab separated value files, TSV files, for the metadata mapper at the moment. So you add the collection in the same way that you would add, the template file. But this time, when you go to view history, you'll see that you have another option, and that's map fields to Discovery. So you click on that and you're taken to the mapper page. So here it gives a brief sort of introduction to the mapper. So this drop down here is where you can save your mapping. So once you've created a mapping, you can save it, and for each subsequent collection that you upload, your saved mapping would appear in this drop down, and you would select it, and then what it does is it basically just pre-populates column 3 with your saved mapping. But obviously this is the first time I'm going to create this mapping. So I'm going to give it a name, and then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look at the columns. So column 1 has all of Discovery's fields populated. Column 2 is all of the column headers in the spreadsheet that you will have uploaded, and then column 3 is empty at the moment, but that is where the mapped fields will appear. So we've got the fields that are piped in red as our required fields, and then we also have to provide some date information, and then we just have optional fields for you to populate as you wish. So as you click on a field, again, it just comes up with a brief description of the field, and then you match, and then you'll see that it's disappeared from both columns and it's appeared in column 3. So I'm just going to keep matching, and then if you accidentally misclick and you've matched the wrong data, you just click undo, and then both fields are populated back into their respective columns, and you can just go again. And reference code, and then I'm just going to provide some covering dates information, and you'll see that as you scroll down, this match button here goes with you, so you don't need to keep scrolling back up to match if you have a lot of optional fields that you'd like to represent in Discovery. So I'm just going to do one optional field, and then I'm happy with that, so I'm going to submit and continue. And then you're brought back to the view history page, and it lets you know that your mapping's been submitted. So again, if immediately you should see the preview and approve button, you just need to refresh if you don't see it, and then you're back to this approval stage, check in your data, and this is just a fonts level description, which is why this doesn't have the plus symbol next to it to expand the hierarchy. So again, I'm happy with that, and then that will be published straight to Discovery, and you can again take a look at it in Discovery, and again, you've got your buttons to manage things live in Discovery. So those are that's the 2 ways that you can upload in the system. So I'm going to move on and talk about editing in the system. There's 2 ways you can do that. There's live in Discovery. So on the collections details page, which pops up when you click on the collection in the Finder collection, you'll see that you've got some options for editing. We're going to edit in Discovery first of all. So that edit in Discovery just takes you to the page, and we are going to edit the record, which changes the view of the page to a bit more of a back-end view, and it allows the fields to be edited. So I'm going to say that the former, I'm going to say that access conditions, the collections open for consultation. And I'm going to give it a former reference. And then I'm also going to give it a more specific date range. And just remove that. So hopefully once we publish those changes, you should see it represented in the system. So there you'll see that the date has changed the former reference has been added, and then the access conditions has also been added. So the edit in discovery function is really good for quick fixes. If you noticed a typo, if you get if you wanted to add a URL in, then you can add the URL in straight into discovery on the records details page that I just showed you. I'm going to go through URLs later on, but there's 3 fields that you can use that allow live URLs. Like you can see here that there's some live URLs in the system. So yeah, that's really handy for quick fixes or updates. So when you cycle back to manage your collections and you're taken back to your details page, this edit function is where you can download your data in a spreadsheet. So it's just a copy of the data. The collection remains on discovery while you are editing data in the spreadsheet, and then you can upload changes that you make. So this step 1 will ask you how you want your data. Now when you go to view history, you'll see that your download is ready. So you click on download collection, and your spreadsheet will open, and your collection is downloaded into the Manage Your Collections template. I didn't mention this earlier, but level of description, you'll see that the spreadsheet starts from column C. There are columns A and B. They are hidden, and basically just don't tamper with them. Once a collection is uploaded to Discovery, columns A and B, when you download a collection, they will be populated with all of the systems IDs for each record. So it's basically when you re-upload the collection, the system recognizes that it is the same collection, and it will just add in all of the new information that you choose to add. So I'm really quickly just gonna add some information. So I'm going to say that is 22, and then I'm just going to add a date. So I'm going to say that that's from 1851 to 1855. So you'll notice there that I've only submitted 4 fields. So any collection, any level below a FONS, you only need to have the level of description, the title, the reference code and the dates, and then that should upload just fine. So I'm going to save that. And then when you're ready to re-upload, don't go to add a collection. Click back into your collection and click on step 2, upload changes. That's purely because if you went to the normal upload collection button, the system would throw out an error basically saying that a collection with this reference code already exists. So this way you basically bypass that, and it understands that it is the same collection. So you upload, view history, and then you'll see again we're back to the preview and approve stage, and I'm just going to approve that, and then hopefully I should be able to show you the new addition that I added. So if you click to hierarchy, and then we want to go into this subfonts, and then we want to see all of the series in this subfonts. If we scroll down, There we go. So that's the collection, that's the information that I just added, life in Twickenham. So that is, so what some archives do is they upload a fonds level description to Discovery while they're cataloguing the rest of the collection, and then they will just add chunks of data as and when it's catalogued by downloading, adding, and then re-uploading. So that is editing. Oh, sorry. That was, I want to go back to there. So what I'm going to do now is, for completeness sake, is I'm just going to delete these test collections that I used and just show you the delete function. So you can delete information from Discovery. Obviously, collections move to other repositories. You know, there's a variety of reasons why catalogue information can't be on Discovery anymore. A lot of people, if especially A2A collections, if they have extensively been recatalogued, then sometimes the most straightforward way is to just remove that collection from Discovery and add a new catalogue description. So you'll see there that you have the deletion completed, and you've got 7 days left to restore the collection if it was a mistake. Obviously, we don't want to see collections data removed from Discovery, but if you need to, then just be aware that once that 7 days is up, the data is wiped completely from our servers and we won't be able to get it back. So for instance, if you are if you have a collection that you want to re-upload because it's been extensively recatalogued, then just to be on the safe side, you can download a copy of the collection before you delete it from Discovery if you want it for your records. So that is manage your collections in a nutshell, and obviously you'll see there that I've removed, so I don't have any collections available. So before I finish, what I want to do is just go through basically our FAQs. So these are all, this is all information that is pretty much available on our web pages, but obviously they can be quite dense because we have outlined basically what I've gone through here in the webinar is also outlined in text format on our web pages, but it can be quite hard to, you know, trawl through text sometimes. So just some top tips that are worth bearing in mind when you use manage your collections. So at present, we can only accept one collection per spreadsheet. In the future, we hope this will change. Again, the minimum fields required for upload at the very top level are level of description, title, creator, scope and content, dates and reference code. And again, the date format in there needs to be expressed as 4 digits for the year. And just to note on the level hierarchies, obviously I said that, you know, row 2 needs to be fonds. It can't be anything else, and you can't have collection. We're also quite strict on the ISAG hierarchy, so you can't skip levels in manage your collections. You can't go from fonds to item or series to item. It does need to be, you know, fonds, series, file, item. You can go from fonds to file though, and it's just worth bearing in mind that these labels, these are just purely labels for manage your collections. We don't publish the level, the terms in Discovery at all, because the National Archives catalogue uses slightly different terminology than what's expressed in ISAG. So we've just removed basically any mention of fonds, files and items and series on Discovery. So it's purely just a sort of mapping exercise for the system to understand the hierarchy, but it's worth bearing in mind because you get a system error if you skip too many levels at once. So hyperlinks can be added. So for example, you can add a hyperlink to your online catalog. You can add a hyperlink to a third-party website where you host digitized images, for example, that you want, researchers to know that there's sort of online access to that digitized content. So there are 3 fields in the template that allow live hyperlinks. So that's scope and content, unpublished finding aids and note. And just bear in mind that you do need the HTTP or the HTTPS element of the URL to actually make the URL live for clicking on. So we've got some permitted tags, and you will have seen these when I was editing live in Discovery. They had the P tags around the text. So this is just worth bearing in mind that you can use these 4 tags. They can be useful for the admin history. If you have a long admin history that you want to sort of separate into paragraphs, and also the lists can be quite useful if you want subject terms listed in Discovery for your collection. And the last one is probably the most common thing that we get an email about from users is the system not processing the data. And 9 times out of 10 is because there's a blank level in the level of description field. So if you leave a blank level in that column, the system will basically just stop processing, thinking that it's the end of the collection, even though there's data below it, because that's how the system sort of processes the collection. So it happens to the best of us. You've got a collection that is 25,000 Excel rows. There can, often be an inadvertent blank cell in the column, but it will stop the system processing anything below that cell. So that's an important one to just double check before upload, that there's no blank levels. And just for the metadata mapper, there's a few different things to bear in mind. So we need the level of description to be present in your spreadsheet for the system to process the data, and we need the word fonts and not collection at the top level. There can be some data modification needed in between you exporting from your system and uploading to Discovery. Obviously, you might need to change the level of description fields, if you use collection, fonts is needed. And also I find that the most thing that's needed to be amended can be how the dates are expressed. I know that some systems export as literally the day and then 3 letters for the month and then the year. So there can need to just be a bit of data cleanup before upload to Discovery. And then just an important thing to mention, if you have multiple collections you want to upload and you'll be saving your mapping to reuse, which does save lots of time because you don't need to go through the mapping process every time, then just don't change any of the columns in the subsequent spreadsheets that you export, because the system is expecting to see the data in exactly the same format. So keep your column headers the same names and just don't move any of the columns, and you'll be fine. We have web pages on Manage Your Collections that goes through the sign up process, which I mentioned briefly earlier, registering for a Discovery account and then letting us know that you've done that, and then we can activate your NYC account. And it also goes through the help section, which essentially outlines everything that I've just gone through with you this morning. So it's a good reference tool when you're first starting to, use the system. And we are available at the following email, and we're very happy to hear from people with queries, troubleshooting, cataloging, structure advice, anything related to collections. We're very happy to chat to you about, and that is that. So I'm going to